The first appearance of Henry Pym is not what you'd expect. He's a conceited scientist who recklessly experiments on himself only to end up trapped in a world that is far larger than he realized. His ability to change size is more of a vulnerability nightmare than any kind of superpower. Henry successfully changes the size of a chair, proving that his formula to shrink and expand matter works. Great, right? The problem is that in order to spite the experts in his field that have been looking down on him in his research, and to prove that he is a greater scientist than all of them, Henry recklessly decides to test the shrinking formula on himself. There's only one tiny problem, pun intended. Now that he's shrinking, he can no longer reach the growth formula that he left on the windowsill. Frantic, Henry runs outside panicked as he continues to shrink, no longer able to reach that growth formula. You know, for a brilliant scientist, you're not all that smart, my guy. Unfortunately, he's eventually spotted by a horde of ants that chase him through the yard. So here's the question. What does a man do when being chased by a wave of pissed off ants? You try to hide inside of their anthill, obviously. And so in true Silver Age style, Henry finds himself stumbling through a dark underground ant cave, but unable to see, he soon falls down a deep shaft, tumbling deep underground before landing in a sea of sticky tar-like substance. It's a sea of honey. So purely for science, I wanted to know if storing honey was like a real thing that ants do. Spoiler warning, it's not. And in fact, the way that ants really store liquids inside of their nests might actually be more horrifying than anything in this issue. If you're curious, look up social stomachs. It's actually kind of interesting in a gross baby bird kind of way. Anyways, trapped in the sticky substance like a man lost in a sea of quicksand, Henry is rescued mere moments before his gooey doom by the only ant in the entire hive that actually seems to like him. And so again, it's off to the races as he starts a fire in the nest by throwing a stone at a match, crafts a lasso out of something, and begins his ascent back to the surface. But as he reaches solid ground, only the power of the human mind and some super sick judo skills save him, as he finds himself grappled by a large set of ant pincers. Back outside, he charges toward his home, but the ants are hot on his heels. He still really hasn't figured out how he can make it up to that window, and before you know it, he finds himself trapped up against the wall, facing off against an angry insect army. But thankfully, the only ant that seems to not want to rip this guy to shreds saves his life once again. I think if I were an ant, I'd be pissed off. This one single dude just keeps interfering. So he rides that little ant up the wall and to salvation. Submerged in the formula, he soon grows back to his normal size. So he destroys both formula, wiping his hands of the entire experiment, at least for now, and he tells his colleagues that the entire experiment ended in failure. I'm gonna assume that at the time that this story came out, it was meant to be a standalone tale. I'm curious to see how Stan and Jack will take Henry and morph him into the man that will one day join the Avengers. Anyways, I want to thank you all for watching. If you're interested in further following my Marvel journey, make sure to check out some of my other videos. I'll see you in the next one.